The smell of burnt sugar and weak espresso hung in the air, a strangely calm backdrop for the storm about to erupt. "Get that filthy beast out of here. This is a public food space, for crying out loud," she shrieked, pointing a rigid, manicured finger at Ranger, the expertly trained black lab resting patiently beside Ethan's wheelchair. Ethan felt the familiar, cold clench in his stomach. Not here, not now, and let out a slow, heavy sigh that felt less like air escaping and more like a weighted blanket settling on his chest. Ranger, thankfully, remained perfectly still, his gentle bronze eyes locked on Ethan, ignoring the human noise pollution. "Is this really happening again?" Ethan adjusted the grip on his chair, trying to keep his voice steady despite the adrenaline spiking in his veins. "Ma'am, with all due respect, Ranger is a working service animal. He's federally protected, and we are allowed to be here." He gently tapped the bright blue vest clearly marked service dog. "Do not pet." The bell above the cafe door jingled, momentarily masking the sharp intake of breath the woman took before launching her next verbal torpedo. "Protected? He's a health hazard. I have severe, crippling allergies, and what if he attacks someone? Just look at him. He looks vicious," Karen sputtered, dramatically batting the air with her hand as if Ranger's mere presence was toxic dust. Ranger, a creature whose daily duty was administering calm, was currently licking his own paw with the utmost indifference. Ethan's jaw tightened. Vicious? This dog helped him stand, retrieved dropped objects, and more importantly, preempted the debilitating panic attacks that had plagued him since his tour overseas. How dare she invalidate him like that? "He's safer than half the people in this mall," Ethan retorted, the tremor in his voice betraying his effort to remain civil. "He's trained for years. His job is literally to keep me safe. It's the law, ma'am. Don't you ma'am me. I know my rights, and my right to a peaceful, sanitary cappuccino outweighs your little pet project," she shouted, now drawing the attention of everyone lining up for the caramel macchiatos. A flicker of deep, exhausted humiliation washed over Ethan. He could feel the heat rising in his neck, the telltale sign that the stress was starting to breach his carefully constructed calm. He silently thanked Ranger for the gentle weight of the dog's head resting against his thigh, a perfect, non-verbal anchor. He wanted to shout, "My little pet project is what keeps me from ending up in the VA hospital, you absolute ghoul," but he swallowed the rage. "Manager, I demand to speak to your manager right now. This man is violating health codes and threatening my well-being," Karen yelled towards the counter, her voice reaching a guttural, strained pitch. Ethan watched a young man named Marcus, the shift manager, slide out from behind the espresso machine, wiping his hands slowly on an apron. Marcus had seen it all: the early morning rage over a skim milk substitution, the teenage theft, the occasional mall brawl, but nothing quite compared to the entitlement radiating off this woman. "How can I help you, ma'am?" Marcus asked, his tone dangerously flat. Karen didn't pause for air. "That man is a fraud. That dog is a menace. It's making me cough. And I swear I saw him try to bite a child earlier. I demand you eject them immediately, or I'm calling the corporate office and the health department." She punctuated the threat with a flailing arm movement, accidentally knocking over a sign promoting a seasonal pumpkin spice latte. Ethan felt a surge of disbelief. Biting a child? The only thing Ranger had done was gently nudge a dropped receipt back into Ethan's lap. This wasn't just frustration. This was pure, weaponized malice. He was about to pull out his phone and find the ADA policy documentation when Marcus spoke, his hand already lifting the cafe's landline receiver. "You're kidding me, right? You're making up stories about a service animal?" Ethan thought Marcus was finally going to fold under the pressure. Oh great, here comes the obligatory apology and the request to leave. But Marcus didn't apologize. He looked Karen straight in her wide, indignant eyes and calmly dialed the 3 most important non-emergency numbers. "Ma'am, I understand your feelings, but this animal is clearly marked. More importantly, federal law prohibits you from interfering with a working service animal, and making false claims about one is harassment. We also have 5 witnesses who watched you just commit property damage and disorderly conduct. Karen froze, her jaw slack. You can't talk to me like that. I am a paying customer. I am calling my lawyer. You will be fired. I am calling the corporate office right now. She reached for her impossibly large designer handbag. Go right ahead, Marcus interrupted her mid-sentence, his voice never rising above a professional murmur. He held the phone receiver close to his mouth. Yes, dispatch? I need 2 officers sent to the Mallow and Bean Cafe at the Center Court Mall. We have a clear case of disorderly conduct and harassment of a disabled veteran and his service animal. The silence that followed was so thick, the only sound was the distant hiss of the espresso machine and the soft, rhythmic click of Ranger's identification tags as he turned his head towards the door. Karen's face cycled through disbelief, pure horror, and finally, a furious purple. A disabled veteran? Ethan hadn't told anyone that, but the manager had clearly noticed his specific mobility aids and the personalized patches on Ranger's vest. It was the side twist, the silent, invisible badge of courage that gave the manager all the moral ammunition he needed. A veteran? This is outrageous. I was just asking for safety, she stammered, frantically searching for an exit as the distant but unmistakable sound of approaching sirens drifted down the corridor. Marcus simply leaned over the counter, arms crossed, the picture of professional vindication. No, ma'am. You were attempting to create a hostile environment for a person protected under the Americans with Disabilities Act. And I'm protecting my patron, not you. When the 2 mall security officers and 1 actual police officer arrived minutes later, they didn't even have to ask questions. They saw the frantic, sputtering woman, the calm, disabled man in the wheelchair, the perfectly behaved black lab, and the collected manager. They heard the quick summation from Marcus, who even pointed out the knocked-over sign. Karen's furious sputtering dissolved into indignant whimpers as the officer, with polite firmness, escorted her away, warning her about the fines associated with filing false reports and interfering with a service animal. Ethan watched her retreat, the sheer, crushing weight of public confrontation lifting off his shoulders. He felt Ranger nuzzle his hand, and he scratched the dog's velvet ears. Good boy, Ranger. You did great, he whispered. Marcus gave him a free refill and a genuine, weary smile. The justice wasn't just in the police taking Karen away. It was in the powerful realization that the world, sometimes, will protect the vulnerable. The law, backed by decent human action, is the ultimate counterdame. Don't ever let the noise of negativity drown out your right to exist.